Welcome to the Molybdenum Software Show, where we do all sorts of things, and you get to watch for free. So I'm jelly of you.
More fun to watch code than write code.
So you're talking about you're trying to show your friend who's a Mac user, Apple Silicon.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was going to be the adventure it turned into last night. I was just like, dude, manage your little fleet. He's got like 2 or 3 machines. Just do it all in Nix. He's got like, when he started doing all this, I told him like, okay, you got to write down everything you do somewhere because you're not going to remember. Like this was his first time, like, managing any machine. It's like that systemd unit that you created, you're not going to remember where the file is. You're not going to remember the name of the unit, the configuration changes you made to your etcf stab. You're not even going to remember where that file is because, you haven't been a Linux admin before. I was like, you got to write everything down. But of course you didn't because like, when you're thrashing around trying to figure stuff out, you don't write everything down. You like thrash around and then it's 3 a.m. and you finally have it working and you go to sleep. So he's in that state now with his machine. And I like know what he's done to his machines because I've been involved in every non-trivial thing he's done to the machines at least. And I just, you know, my brain has the neural pathways for all the things he's done that are going to bite him or like that he's going to forget in the future. But I'm like, okay, you just got a new machine. We should do it with Nix. And then anyways, yeah, like I was saying, I didn't realize like just building a NixOS configuration on macOS was like, I mean, in retrospect, it makes sense, but like, you gotta like set up emulated builds, and like, there is not the like most obvious way of figuring out how to do that. At least I did not immediately stumble on the docs. It took me a while
Nix.dev
to figure out.
has those docs, I believe.
Okay,
Isn't it? Well, hold on, let me see.
I didn't see it, but I will.
I
We were
think I
trying to
might be
follow
confused
Nix.dev.
between Nix.dev and Nix Academy has
Okay.
a blog
I
post
did
you
find the Nix
probably
Academy.
ran into. Where's
Yes,
the
and the problem.
like
So
list
this
of
was
posts?
really great timing because I can now do a plug for your podcast. I had just listened to two podcast episodes where you interviewed this guy,
This
Jacek.
Jacek.
So that felt really appropriate. I was like, oh, I've heard this person's voice for like a couple hours now. Um, and the problem with this blog post is it says here's the way of doing it that people have done, and it's like, yeah, this one, the Linux builder. This was a very useful clue, but it glosses over things. It says you got to do this, and then that list of steps there is like, okay, now figure out how to do that. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to figure this out while I'm like walking my friend through this thing. I've never done any of this before. And then the alternative is this. And this is like to lean into Nick Darwin, which is like, seems like a really cool project. And like, I'd be 100% sold. Like if somebody put a gun to my head and said like, you have to use a Macintosh, I'd probably check out Nick Darwin. But I wasn't ready to like try to sell my friend on using Nick Darwin to manage his personal laptop. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I just should have told him to do that, but I just had no idea
This is the easy way.
what would have been involved. Yeah. That looks lovely and totally makes sense. What I don't know is what needs to happen before you get to just apply that, blob of config to your machine.
Setting up Nick Darwin is easy. I had to go through it a few times with others' machines because I don't have such a machine.
Yeah. So I may have made the wrong decision there, but like we stumbled on that and I was like, oh gosh. I'm like already trying to sell someone on Nix to manage other machines. And this is turning into me now. I'm going to have to sell him on using Nix to manage his own machine. I hadn't anticipated I'd known about all this, maybe I could have like strategized with you beforehand. I just wasn't expecting to go down that adventure. And then,
Mm.
we got that working. It took a while because the instructions there, the part one of that blog post mentions the Linux builder, but that Linux builder runs on whatever architecture your host OS, your host processors, your host OS processor is. But he has an x86 PC that he bought that he's trying to deploy to, so we had to figure out how to do the emulated version of that, and turns out somebody did add support for that, but again, just finding it was like, you know, as things go in the Nix universe, it was like, okay, yeah, this is like a bit of an adventure. Find the PR. I found the PR before I found the docs. Maybe there aren't even docs. It's just like, oh, this is like all the stuff that I don't super mind. That is also like, okay, this is not how other people have experiences like this, and they're like, this is not for me. So I don't know. But he's a good friend, and he also knows that like I'm his number one source on his home lab. So if he wants my help, I'm gonna be pretty reluctant to help him if he doesn't keep trying out the next thing. So I'm gonna drag him kicking and screaming.
Sounds like coercion.
Yeah, maybe I'm not being a good friend. I don't know.
All
Anyway,
right.
that was my yesterday night, and the reason I am running on not enough sleep. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah. Um, I've been called stupid today for the first time on publicly on Mastodon.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's I think it has to do with my opinions about equality versus
Mm.
equity, which seems to be a popular concept these days.
Is this about software or something else?
No, I mean it's in the context of software, the the Nix steering committee elections special episodes of
Oh,
my podcast.
I see. Uh, all right. Well, maybe I'll use this as an excuse to log into Mastodon. I created an account, but haven't actually used it at all. See what the drama is about.
Yeah, I just noticed that um, the instance I have an account on, the only one I have an account on, Hachyderm,
Mm-hmm.
um, has rules that I find too woke for me. So I'll be seeking a different instance. I hope the migration story is nice.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to learn about. I'm sorry to hear about the rules. I hope you find a new home that you're happier with.
I'm not a great Mastodon user either, so whatever the implications, I'll survive them.
Okay. Um, Alejandro, who we did Summer of Nix with, he
Mm-hmm.
gave me an invite for Fastodon, I think is the one,
Is it
but
invite
I have no
only?
idea what. When I was interested in signing up, it was. I don't know if that's changed.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Take a look. Thanks.
I just wanted I was like, everyone seems to be joining ones based on their identity, and I don't have an interesting identity outside of Rubik's Cubes and open source software. So I couldn't find a Rubik's Cube Mastodon. So but I want to be on the open source one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I find it odd that there are instances of Mastodon that have to do with being queer or gay or LGBTQIA plus. It just, to me it seems this is your just like personal business, your personal lives. Like why is it a community? And I can understand
You
some
are
arguments for because we feel safe together, because people don't attack us, because we want to create a safe space for ourselves. And okay, fine, if that's the answer, I hope that's the answer, because otherwise it's like it shouldn't be anyone's business. And you end up making it everyone's business. Like you end up as if you being uh transgender or whatever you decide to identify as is like the primary part of your identity, as if you being a father or a mother or um, a person who appreciates integrity or whatever else, or your career, or maybe you have some spiritual identity, right? Like you believe that you are this and that and the other thing
sure.
because you read something or took some mushrooms, or I don't know. Like, how did this become such a central part of so many people's identity? And I'm
Well,
sure there are
you're straight
answers, but
into
I
a
don't
topic
really.
I do not feel comfortable discussing
Yeah.
in the public. If we had a more diverse group, I would feel more comfortable and I'd
Hmm.
be very interested in that conversation. Um, but I'm gonna leave it there.
I'm okay with leaving it there. I just wanted to share these kind of open questions of mine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean I think that in the right context with someone who like is not offended. I could see people being very offended by even asking the question, which is like itself is unfortunate. But yeah,
Mm.
I mean, I just don't have that experience. I don't know what it's like to, struggle with my own identity in the way that I think a lot of these, people who have, dealt with gender and sexual stuff have, you know, had to struggle with their identity, and maybe that, does make it a more core part of your identity than, when I think of, I don't know, my hair color or, my, the religion that I inherited from my parents or whatever.
Hmm.
So it's like, I've stumbled into software and Rubik's Cube stuff, but that like wasn't like there was no struggle, right? It was just like, oh, there's a community of people who do this thing and they're welcoming. And so I guess my response to that I feel comfortable saying is like, I don't feel like I have an analogous thing for myself. So it's hard for me to put myself in, people's shoes.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point.
But then, and I'll say one more thing,
Hmm.
to maybe yes and you a little bit. Uh, I normally live in one of the, most stereotypical bubbles of, you know, like people just talking to like people. Not just
Hmm.
California, but the Bay Area within California.
Hmm.
And that sort of, I yeah, I think it's called the bubble. I think that's the term. Just like everybody agreeing with each other, or you know, competing to see how strongly they can agree with each other is
Hmm.
like, you know, it's just interesting being here in Wisconsin, a state that is almost perfectly split 50-50 down the middle between the two big political parties here in the US. And it's just like, oh, you see a lot of, I was at breakfast with some people the other day and I was like, oh, you are talking about a thing that, you're talking about like the Republican candidates, like nobody would even talk about the Republican candidate. And
Hmm.
so it's just, I don't know that I like became a more informed person or any of our opinions changed, but it is kind of nice to just like see other people who are polite and nice at a breakfast who have fundamentally different opinions from you. And I feel like I don't get a lot of that back home.
Hmm.
And so anyways, I was just saying that in the context of, if you just join a social media place where everyone's got the exact same opinions as you, I don't know. Maybe the point isn't, of these things isn't to form new opinions. It's just to, like you said, be comfortable. And I've strayed way too far into a topic I do not feel comfortable discussing, so we're moving on.
All right. So why don't you take the helm?
All right. Okay. Oh, you can see the last adventure I started picking up yesterday. Not relevant. I was curious what the state of the art on like spell check and grammar check is in NeoVim. All right. Mob start 7, mob people. And too many things. Sorry. Here we All right. Sorry, doing the window shuffle. All right. Cargo test. Did we leave ourselves a failing test? Oh, right. We were gonna write. We're gonna write 30 lines of code to save 2 lines of code. Okay, but it'll be useful to understand how poem middlewares work.
They basically wrap each other. They basically every middleware like value, right? Like an instance of a middleware has a field
Mm-hmm.
that has the next endpoint. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, we saw that like with the inner that got called. I think when we were reading the source code of this thing.
Yes, and we can. I think we can use that as reference for making our own.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's one of those. Nope, that didn't work. Add data. There we go. All right. So left side is our code. Right side is the middleware we're gonna cargo cult off of. And so we started to do that, like simple middleware for. They've got some, generics. We don't yet have
I
generics, I
think
should
we
say.
won't have generic. Oh, we will have generic for the next endpoint, right?
That makes sense. Okay, so let's do that. That
Because
totally makes sense.
middleware, and you can see middleware straight is generic, so there must be that.
Yeah, the data we're being explicit about, so we don't need to genericize on the thing that we're going to be returning or whatever the database pool or whatever thing we're holding on to.
Mm-hmm. I think next you
Okay.
can add the
So where clause,
bound. Yeah.
where endpoint. Ah, okay. Okay, then I'm just gonna follow the pattern here. So DB connection endpoint, whatever that means. Some new type we're going to add, I guess.
Yes, that will
Transform.
be the endpoint. Mm-hmm.
All right, and so then we're gonna need a pub. I'm here over here now. So pub struct DB connection endpoint, and I guess this will be generic on E, inner E, Not sure about this value yet.
No,
It might be.
there will be a
It'll be a hard-coded thing, right? Like a
yes.
DB connect or DB pool,
Uh
like one of these maybe.
a DB pool.
Like when does this code, this transform run in the life cycle of the server or in the life cycle of the request? Do you think this happens once when the server boots, or do you think this happens during every request?
I think this happens when you call with. If you take a look at with, but we saw
Yeah.
that. Did we take a look at the signature of it? Yeah, there you go.
Use middleware to transform this endpoint.
Well,
Yeah, okay, so
look at the
there's some
signature.
symmetry.
Look at the bound of T. What you give it there is a middleware T, where T is middleware of self endpoint.
Mm-hmm. And self is an into endpoint. No. Oh, self is size and into endpoint.
Self. Self is endpoint. I think because
no, self is a thing that has endpoint, right?
the implements endpoint. Notice what this is called on.
This is the like Fluent API we're building a poem route.
At returns an endpoint, right?
That sounds plausible. Returns a self,
A self,
which
is a route. If you look
holy
at
cow,
above,
what is happening here? Have you seen this?
that it's a link.
A hyperlink in my terminal? What is this?
I don't know.
The 90s? Oh my gosh. Links? Okay, sorry for that distraction. So yeah, at returns a self.
See, like,
I don't know how to read this.
see the first line. That, yes. That's a route.
This is telling us what self is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's telling you what that method is associated with, where that method came from.
Got it. Okay. Lovely. Love it. That's useful to know. Not obvious, but
So
totally makes sense.
that means that no.
Too popular.
That means that with is called on a route, but it is not inherent method on route.
Mm-hmm. This is a trait.
It is from endpoint X trait. So that means
Got it.
route implements probably endpoint,
Mm-hmm.
and endpoint X is an extension trait, provides more.
And we have access to that because of this
Yes.
import up here. Love it. Okay. Next. There we go. Stop on the share. It's all yours.
Would you mind if we look into my completion so it actually works?
Totally. I've also had at least one thing on my list to do, which I might ask you about while we're looking. The inlay hints for types in Rust.
Mm-hmm.
I have not looked into what it would take to get that turned on with Rust Station Vim, or if it's not even a Rust Station Vim thing.
I already did that in this branch.
I know, I see you've got it. So I was wondering if I could copy that from you.
Yes, it's mob
If it's a thing you even
Vim
had to.
branch, but also if I just go to inlay.
Oh gosh, you used the mob tool by yourself, Shahar?
Yes.
Oh wow, you're committed. I love it.
Well, here there's that's NixVim LSP. Okay, so I have this, and so yeah, just go check it out. It's spread. Just search for the word inlay, and you'll find a few things.
Okay, so sorry, I'm checking out. Are you showing me something right now?
Yes. Am I not sharing screen at all?
No.
Oh. Well, yeah, I think you should.
Oh, this is a separate plugin, unrelated to
I have
Restation Vim,
one
called LSP
module
Inlay Hidden.
which does inlay hints true in under plugins LSP,
Okay.
and it has a key map that I don't use because I never turn them off, but it toggles them.
Neat. Just in case they got too noisy or something.
Yes.
So this
I
is
think the only
LS
case where I
program.
wanted to turn them off is when someone else said, someone I was mobbing with or bearing with, they said it's too much noise for them.
Got it. So, sorry, are we looking at NixVim configuration here?
Yeah. Programs NixVim plugins
Okay, sweet.
LSP inlay hints true, key maps extra, something that allows you to toggle them. And then,
Awesome.
in addition to that, there's this line. Programs NixVim plugins LSP. Why do I have this twice? Sorry,
It's
I
just
just
set
have
to
this
true in two
twice.
different places.
Yep. Let me
That makes sense.
shorten this. I don't want to set it. Didn't mean to do that. That's better. Inlay. And Restation Vim has some additional configuration for inlay hints, which you can still. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Max length and. Okay.
I remember when inlay hints were some Lua extension, but now they're NeoVim. So anyway, you got
Great.
it, right?
I'm working on it.
Oh, you are working on it right now. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I figured it would be nice to have for our session. Okay. So I'm not gonna do the NeoVim. Okay, great. So we'll see if that deploys. You have my undivided attention.
So I don't know. I think NeoVim default should have something here with completion, like the fact that tab, right? The fact that tab kind of selects and enter.
Yes, I
Shows
have spent a little while playing with all that stuff because I was very confused about just what is built into NeoVim these days versus what needs a plugin for auto completion and what do the completion plugins actually do under the hood. I just didn't understand any of that.
Thing is, it used to work like so. I did not delete anything. Like I did not have to re-implement it because I didn't find how I currently implement it. I think NixVim does something a little different.
So
this is all I have left here.
there's.
I don't have anything that has to do with tab or enter to do anything with completion.
Okay.
So how did you
So
set it up?
out of the box these days, NeoVim has auto completion configured. Sorry, has completion built in. So without any plugins or anything, there's a keyboard shortcut that if you're like, in a buffer that's got LSP enabled, whatever, it will set up the so-called omnifunc, which is like
Mm-hmm.
the function that gets run to figure out the list.
Okay.
It'll include in that omnifunc logic to query the LSP server, the attached LSP servers,
Uh-huh.
plural. And it's just like a weird
I
shortcut by
think
default. It's like
that's
Control
what I
X
had.
O.
I think if I just disable
Okay,
CMP, I'll have that again.
that sounds right. And so then the reason to use CMP is because you don't just want completion, you want auto completion. And I think all CMP does, it's kind of two things. And sorry if you know all this.
I don't know. I don't even know what auto completion is.
So auto completion is just registering auto commands, like the things that run whenever some event occurs in the NeoVim ecosystem. So auto completion, which NeoVim does not have baked into core, is just reacting to, oh, you pressed a dot. It's probably a good time now to
Oh, well,
ask
I'm
the LS.
used to that, right? That's what you saw me. That's how you saw me editing. I never
Yeah. So that,
typed the command in order to open the completion menu.
yeah. So you're used to that. You want that, which means you either would need to write the auto commands by hand, which would be ridiculous. So you would use a plugin like nvim. CMP is like, in my opinion, the most
But that means that I had that
seems to
set
be the
up.
most popular. Yeah.
If I do git diff next thing, I should find something removed here that has CMP. This is added.
There it is.
nvim CMP nvim LSP and nvim CMP, but there is no configuration here whatsoever. And I think that's it. See, so I did not ever configure it. And these two, CMP nvim LSP, that's equivalent to
Excuse
CMP,
me.
LSP,
Yeah, I see you've got it right there.
default, this CMP nvim LSP enabled true.
Do I have that?
And CMP enabled true.
Well, now I've got to see how mine works.
Yes,
Do I
please.
have? Oh, okay. So mine's a little different. I guess I don't explicitly have that line of code on the right there, the CMP nvim lsp.enable equals true. I think I've got a slightly different thing called auto enable sources, because what you're doing there is you're enabling a CMP completion source. And I guess there's some logic built into NixVim itself that will like auto enable the sources.
Okay, show me what that
But I
option
think
is.
this is tangential. We could look at it if we're curious.
It is?
Try searching. I don't think this is going to affect the thing
Okay.
you care about, which is the keyboard shortcuts.
Yep.
So I don't have an answer to how this worked before. What I can answer is how I set up the keyboard shortcuts. Which is I'll give you a link. Apparently I won't. Let me go back to my main branch. Maybe that'll do it. Okay. Chat. There we go.
Well, I kind of spread it. This is just the LSP one, but then here there's whatever. Yeah, so this is like a built-in one, right? Path is built in, and then Vim LSP is comes to me. So This? Okay, right. According to this, I can do that as long as this is a list. I suppose, yeah. So you sent me a link, but where? Hmm. Sorry, what? Oh, don't be harsh on him. I find it difficult to believe that there's no like option for just, hey, give me a reasonable. Where is tab here? Where's enter here? I don't see tab and enter. Do you use tab and enter? Hmm. Yeah. And this is the mapping is where mapping is mapping. I don't see mapping. Where's mapping? Oh, it must be no. I don't. Package enables. Sometimes I swear I can't find things in this manual. It's in settings. That's why settings. Okay. Okay. Settings. Settings is this general thing, and settings mapping. And here are some suggestions. But I wonder again, why didn't I have to do any of this? It currently just works in my new Vim. Mm-hmm. Could it be this? Pre-select? I cannot select anything. Maybe with the mouse. I can do this in Nix as well, I think. I don't know, it's not loading. I'll try in Rust. What can we do? Remove this unwrap. Docs. What do you want me to press? Well, for one, the menu does automatically open, so that's how I like it. Arrow keys just don't just do what they usually do. Control P. So this is Control N, Control P as the default NVIM menu, completion menu. Mm-hmm. Tab does insert a tab, and that's what I'm used to. Yeah, and enter just doesn't enter. So nothing that I know of interact with this menu. Completion engine select NVIM written Lua. Completion external repositories and source. Read me. GitHub visual documents, breaking changes, Mojave project, bug reports, mapping presets. Predefined configuration aims to mimic NeoVim's native-like behavior. Can be changed without announcement. Please manage key mapping by yourself. The answer is no. The word preset is only one instance here. You know what? No, you maybe, but it would be also difficult to find out because LSP0 keeps changing. Strange project that is. I appreciate the effort. It served me, but it's time to move on to NixVim. I agree. Well, we can get to that conversation when we make an NVim distro, but for now, what are the presets? It says please manage key mapping by yourself. What if I like the presets? How do I use them? See the wiki. Preset. Oh, no? Yep. Where is it? Mapping. I don't see mapping though. I don't think it's here. No, does not seem like the correct scope. No. Oh, it seems quite similar. What would you suggest? Mapping is empty. An empty one. Oh, cache entries, right? Another mapping here. It was plural, that matters. But also it was mapping the presets, if that also matters. There's no mapping. Did I do that wrong? Mappings plural. That's also nil. Plural. Singular. There's something. They are functions. It would be easier to find this in the code. Mm-hmm. Where is that? Is this something we missed? No. Where's my tab? Well then, that's all I care to give that preset attention. Shall we do custom ones? Mm-hmm. Good thinking. Too many, but the answer is no. Omni. No omni. So where do you think it is in SP0? CMP mapping. Should be here. Should be a tab here. Yep. This is where it's from, but it's a function. Next. Well, there's quite a few different things here. I don't want them all. I just want my tab, my shift tab. I'm not even attached to these. I can use something else. I just want to get something quickly. So maybe I should do the preset. I, yeah. Mm-hmm. So how do you enable the preset? The idea is that it's just a table that you use as a value. Mm-hmm. Okay. How, I saw it a moment ago. Where did I see it? Is it in the same? Oh, that's a new tab. This is yours, but I was there a moment ago. I have a tab with it over here. This override return manage schema. Override or blah, blah, blah. Okay. Call it with M. Mm-hmm. Or yep. Okay. So the value exists under mapping preset inset, which I don't know how to get. How did you figure out how to obtain this value? But that's not the beginning of it, right? I need to do mappings equals, and then what? Make raw. Lib make raw. Lib make raw, and then something like config, and then config the next vim. No, I like it this way. But is it okay? That was nvim or cmp config. Yeah, please. What? Oh, liavcmp.config dot map. Right. So what gets exported out of this file? Return. Okay. It's it's an implicit function. Oh, I think it doesn't because there are no parameter list here. That's why it's an implicit. Well, anyway. Insert, but nothing. Wait. It's mapping presets Mapping, preset, right? You don't, right. And on that there is preset insert. Let's try. And then I don't want to ask that question. Yeah, that didn't work somehow. Somehow that didn't work. Hmm. Hmm. It didn't work. I mean, it did something, but it did something that I didn't expect it to do. It did this. I'm clicking Control N. What do you mean? Do you see my screen? Control and did it? Maybe. Okay. So I went and looked at the README again of NVIM CMP, and there's this example of how to use. It does, except for like some scope difference, but it should be equivalent. We required all of like this. What did we require? No, we did something different. We required CMP config mapping. This is CMP mapping, but it could still be correct. I don't know how the table here is set up, right? But I think it's more correct in any case, right? Like mapping, like this is the entry, the formal entry point. Unlikely, I didn't get an error, so probably reached the same function anyway. And CMP in the that's a next. Okay, well, so CMP setup mapping top level, right? And then I took a look at the resultant, and that seems like what we're trying to do. Right? Sure. What? Hmm. You have to find it every time. That makes sense. Makes sense. So I'm closing this one and opening another nearby. Going to source main. It, it has the same. Then that looks right to me. That's right. Tell me where to go. I have yours open here. Completion default. Here's mapping. I don't have to use the. Let's try some explicit ones. Okay. Let's start with tab and enter. That's like, let's try tab, shift tab, and enter. If that works, I'm good. So why is it like, is this normal? Why isn't it just, why is there like a wrapping function here? You might not know, just from the docs probably. Mm-hmm. Functions. Let's look at the Nixvim. It says string. So this is for opening the menu, which I never did. Closing, I do it with escape. Here's a tab. Select next item. This shift tab. And this is enter. What about escape for closing? I think that's is that like a default thing? Like a native thing that escape and close pop-ups? Mm. NH. Yes, it's included in NH. Mm-hmm. Close this one. Put another one. Go to source main. Go somewhere. This, for example. Tab doesn't work. Shift tab doesn't work. Enter doesn't work. Oh, it's not working. Can you can you do you I'm just thinking, mm, this neovide, it uses the nvim that is in the path. I just want to rule out neovide here. Let's try just nvim source name. I want to rule that out with the other source name. I said other source name. Actually, is it the other source? In any case, I can do something here. No? Okay, so it's not neovide. And then which it's in the profile. So that certainly gets swapped out with nh. Is this how it's supposed to look? With the brackets. Square bracket. Okay. Got it. This is, what is chat? Can is something overriding it? Being overridden by something? It's like I think the answer is no, because tab just inserts a tab. I have another. No, I don't. Mm-hmm. Can we examine the CMP mappings in the editor? Just examine, just confirm that. What would you? Can we get into a Lua REPL here? Of course, there's a plugin, right? How is there not such a thing in Vim? PR welcome. It's 5 years ago. Yep, there is no such thing, I suppose. Okay, so in lieu of that, what can we do? Lua. That we have to print it. vim.inspect. So that it's vim.inspect, vim.print, or vim.print, vim inspect. At least we have line editing here. Unfortunately, we don't know how to search here. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Buffers. Config. Config what? Config. Compare locality. Hard to know where I am anymore. Mapping. I don't think that's it. Is it? The functions. Oh. Is it? But it says mapping. It doesn't say preset. Okay. So I suppose that's not the live configuration here. LST. Get config function. Ah. Yeah. What? Mappings. Here are my mappings. What? No way. Wait. Really? It's mapping singular. I'm familiar with these kinds of problems, which are necessary. Oh, right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean lost? What and what change are you referring to? What old and new? When was there a change? Oh, beautiful. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is what I'm used to. Thank you. Okay, this is great. Uh, okay. I knew I didn't know whether I was in a free form or not. I didn't think of it. Ye- Yeah. In the case that you thought that you were in a fully type checked uh, set, and you were disappointed because you're actually not in one. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. So you're saying it was different. It was actually different. Before, everything that was typed was completely outside a free form in any. Now they are to merge together. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've seen both. Like extra config or extra option. There's both. In some, even in some. Okay. Yep. Why is that a benefit? It's a benefit if something has been done incorrectly already. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's runtime. True, 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 true. All right, take the helm. Thank you for sharing the rent. Your screen froze for me. Did it? Looks okay. That type does not exist. It does exist. Missing generic. To add the generic. Sounds right. It says that your output needs to implement endpoint, right? Did you do add? A good place to start is by the action implement missing. And then you can change it to an async FN. Looks like return what output is. Yep. I suppose. Yeah. Well, the type says pull connection. Yeah. I guess it's not from there. Show us the docs for from request, please. I'm thinking what implements from request, and then we could take a look at what is it it would be a trait, so you can get there. Yeah, but this is the function in the trait, but the page belongs to the trait, so in the right page. Now on the left, you have, don't scroll all the way down, scroll back up. There's implementors, and it seems empty from here, but you go there, there's quite a few. What I'm looking for here is different things that seem interesting that implement that. Like, for example, the data one, right? But if we don't find them, there could be a generic implementation, not generic, a blanket implementation. Here's the data one. So take a look at that, yeah. And it is certainly explicit implementation. It's a type map. Mm-hmm. That get, notice that it's a generic function that has no arguments other than the type argument. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I actually used that in Mickey. If you want to see something similar to that, it's in Mickey. It's a bit of a brain warper, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. An endpoint that gets to connection. This is not. I wouldn't be concerned. That's a field that's too early to be concerned about that. I don't see the complete picture of. Mm-hmm. I I feel comfortable with you on the helm. I was on the helm for too long with my editor. Mm-hmm. Thanks. Endpoint. Yeah, a middleware um, gets transformed into an endpoint. Correct. Yeah, correct. Oh. Um, data. What's the equivalent of data middleware? It is add data. Add data. Um, oh, it returns an add data endpoint, right? Add that. So, and the endpoint implementation for add data endpoint returns a no data. Maybe that's a different, completely unrelated thing. Where did data come from? What's data? Uh-huh. Okay. So show us, find data in this source code. Could do it in your editor as well. Go to definition. Yes. And the implementation of from request, right? So there's of lifetime A, and T is send plus sync plus static. From request for data lifetime and type and T. Async from request returns result of whatever that is self. It's a generic implementation. This is a generic implementation. T. T. Mm-hmm. Sorry, can you say that again? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, may I see the get of T call? Yeah, that's why there's OK or else there. No compile time safety for that, and that's a limitation, but it's not going to pass any test. Like even if you have just one test, it's going to fail very early. Are there any built-in middlewares that we can look at for naming convention? Sure. Because add data is kind of a strange one. See, they don't all start with add. It's like CSRF, force HTTPS, all sorts of things, right? There's an FN middleware. I wonder. So you think we're only those that would allow us to have additional value in the handlers are. Let's take a look at it. Maybe the endpoint. Okay, so let's start with request ID, which seems to be the middleware. It implements middleware. Go to the middleware implementation. Yes. And you see the type output, the associated type output for that implementation is request ID endpoint. So go there, but we saw maybe there is no type connection between this and, but let's see what. Search on this page, search rec ID. I think the answer is no. So go to rec ID and see what the heck, how does that work? Yeah, it's, I think so. There's an OK or else that says very clearly, yeah, request ID middleware not active. And let's do get to the implementation of into endpoint. That would be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe even search for insert or extend, or what is extensions insert? Set data may be generic and takes a rec ID. Yeah, that's it. That must be it. What is it on? So it's just inherent on request, maybe. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's generic. It's a does insert, right? Uh Maybe because, but is it in that same function? I don't think it's in the same function. Uh-huh. Okay. Well, that's we don't understand, but I think it's okay. Sure. My suspicion is that it's won't let us add anything into the, or maybe it would. Let's look. Well, but hold on. I think this might actually be the best thing to do, because this would mean we don't have to implement anything, any trait. I think the problem is, where would the get live? That would be the problem. Where would the get live? We don't want the get to live in the. Mm-hmm. From request. That's where the get is, from request. Might work. What do we have access to in its request? We must have access to request E and E2. That's the transformation. Hmm. This is a FN middleware of T. It's a struct already. FN middleware. E. How do you construct an FN middleware? It has only private fields. It's there's if you could just go up here. It how do you what is FN? Can can you go to blanket implementations of this? one of these t's should be a function. For t, where t is a function. I think that's omitted here because these are all implementations of middleware, of FN middleware. Oh, maybe I think what you were trying to say is that if you go to the page middleware, middleware trait, there's an implementation. Yeah, I see all sorts of implementations. I don't know what that is, for example. There's a lot to dig into here. I'm trying to not touch everything. But I do expect one of these to be a function. For a t where t is a function. Just scroll through it. It's not long. But I'm not seeing it. Not seeing it. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, good idea. Let's see. Hmm. There are quite a few provided middleware. Middleware. You can call it with. Yeah, but that's. Mm-hmm. Sure, but that's super generic. If you have a better name, you can do a better name. Like in add data and the data. It's hmm, yes. It's strange that you just use data for, but I guess they're all just data. It's fine. Try to do it next. Try to actually do it next session. Next session. Good work, Jeremy. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and be well, everyone. Bye-bye.